I love someone else, Blake. It's time for you to let go, said Layla, my wife, holding the phone with messages from her boss. Her face turned pale when I left the room. The garage door hummed shut as Blake parked his sleek black SUV, the engine's low growl fading into the quiet Miami evening. He just closed a deal for 10 luxury cars at his flagship dealership, a win that should have had him buzzing with pride. Instead, unease gnawed at him. His wife, Layla, hadn't answered his texts all afternoon. Stepping into their beachfront home, he called her name. No response. The kitchen light was on, casting a sharp glow over the counter where her phone sat, screen flashing with notifications. Blake set down his keys, noticing a half-empty wine glass beside the sink. Layla wasn't a daytime drinker. He picked up her phone, unlocked, a rare slip for her. A message from Conrad glowed on the screen. Can't wait for tomorrow. Same spot, 8 p.m. Blake's pulse quickened. Conrad was Layla's boss, the slick CEO of Ashford Events. The man had a reputation for charming clients and bending rules. Blake scrolled up, his gut twisting as he read flirty texts, plans for late-night meetings, and a mention of a weekend escape in Napa. His wife wasn't planning events. She was planning something else. He heard footsteps. Layla appeared in the doorway, freezing when she saw him with her phone. "You're home early," she said, her voice tight, eyes darting to the device in his hand. Blake didn't flinch. "Who's Conrad meeting tomorrow at 8? He asked, keeping his tone even. Layla's lips parted, but no words came. She crossed her arms, a defensive move he'd seen her use with difficult clients. "It's just work," she said finally. "A new client dinner. Why are you snooping?" Blake set the phone down, his mind racing. He'd met Layla 5 years ago at a charity gala she'd orchestrated, raising thousands for a Miami homeless shelter. Her confidence, her ability to command a room, had hooked him instantly. They'd built a life together, his dealerships thriving, her event business soaring. They'd faced heartbreak, too, with 2 failed pregnancies, but he thought their bond was unbreakable. Now, doubt cracked that foundation. "You've been distant," he said. "Late nights, secret texts. What's going on, Layla?" Her eyes flashed with defiance. "You're paranoid, Blake. I'm working hard. Same as you." She grabbed her phone and stormed upstairs. Blake stood still, the wine glass catching his eye again. It wasn't her usual Merlot. It was a rare vintage, one Conrad had bragged about at a recent gala. The pieces didn't fit, and Blake wasn't the type to ignore a bad deal. He ran 3 dealerships, employing dozens, turning handshakes into millions. Spotting lies was his trade, and Layla was lying. The next morning, Blake acted normal, kissing Layla goodbye as she left for an early meeting. He waited 10 minutes, then called Javier, a private investigator he'd used to vet shady suppliers. "I need you to tell my wife," Blake said, his voice steady despite the ache in his chest. "Find out who she's meeting, where, and why." Javier didn't ask questions. "Give me 48 hours, he replied. Blake hung up, his jaw tight. He wasn't ready to confront Layla yet. He needed proof, hard evidence that would cut through her excuses. By noon, Layla texted, heading to a client pitch. "Be home late." Blake didn't respond. Instead, he drove to his downtown dealership, where he could think without her perfume lingering in the air. His assistant handed him an invitation to Ashford Events' upcoming gala at a Miami Beach hotel. "Layla's running it," she said. Blake nodded, tucking the invite into his pocket. A plan was forming. If Layla was hiding something, that gala would be the stage to expose it. That evening, Javier sent a preliminary report. Layla had met Conrad at a waterfront cafe, their body language too close for business. Photos showed her laughing, his hand brushing hers. Blake's stomach churned, but he kept reading. Bank records, accessed through Javier's contacts, revealed transfers from Layla's business account to an offshore account linked to Conrad's company. Thousands of dollars. Money that should have gone to their future, maybe a family. Blake's hand shook as he saved the files. This wasn't just an affair. It was a betrayal on every level. He called Sophia, Layla's business partner and oldest friend. "Meet me tonight," he said. "We need to talk about Layla." Sophia hesitated, then agreed. At a quiet bar near South Beach, she looked nervous, twisting a napkin in her hands. "I didn't want to believe it," Sophia said. "Layla's been lying about her trips. That Napa weekend? No sorority reunion. She was with Conrad at his beach house." Blake's heart sank, but he pressed on. "What else?" Sophia sighed. "She's been funneling money to his company. It's failing Blake. She thinks she's saving it. And him." Blake leaned back, processing the scope of the deception. Layla wasn't just cheating. She was risking their future for a man using her. Sophia slid a USB drive across the table. Emails, texts, receipts. I've been collecting them. I thought you deserved to know. Blake took the drive, his mind already shifting to strategy. He'd built his empire by outsmarting competitors. Now, he'd outsmart his wife and her lover. The gala was in 3 days. That's when he'd strike. Blake sat in his dealership office, the hum of Miami traffic outside barely registering. The USB drive from Sophia burned a hole in his pocket. He plugged it into his laptop, scanning emails between Layla and Conrad. Promises of a new life, together mingled with discussions of client lists and vendor contracts. Layla's business assets, handed over to prop up Conrad's sinking company. One message chilled Blake. Once we're free, we'll sell his dealerships and start over in L. Layla was planning to gut his empire. He clenched his fists, channeling rage into focus. The gala was 2 days away. He needed a plan that would expose them both without breaking the law. Javier called at 9 a.m. Got something big, he said. Conrad's been meeting investors, pitching fake expansion plans for Ashford events. He's using Layla's reputation to close deals. Blake's jaw tightened. His wife wasn't just a pawn. She was Conrad's shield, her credibility masking his fraud. Any proof? Blake asked. Javier sent a file, recorded calls where Conrad bragged about new funding, while Layla vouched for his vision. Blake saved the audio. This was ammunition, but he needed more to make the gala a knockout blow. He met Sophia again, this time at a crowded diner near Coconut Grove. She looked drained, guilt etched in her posture. Layla's meeting Conrad tonight at his downtown condo, she said. She thinks I'm covering for her at a client pitch. Blake nodded, calculating. Can you give me access to her business accounts? Sophia hesitated, then agreed. I'll send you the login. But Blake, she's talking divorce. Conrad's convincing her you're holding her back. Blake's stomach twisted, but he stayed calm. Send me everything. I'm ending this. By noon, Sophia delivered. The account records showed Layla had siphoned $80,000 to Conrad's firm over 4 months, funds meant for their joint savings. Blake cross-checked with Javier's findings. Conrad's company was weeks from bankruptcy, vendors unpaid, contracts canceled. Layla was funding a mirage, blind to the truth. Blake called his lawyer, Elena, a sharp litigator who'd handled his dealership contracts. Protect my assets, he said. Transfer everything to my personal accounts. Layla can't touch them. Elena worked fast, locking down his finances by evening. Blake felt a flicker of control returning. Javier's next update came at dusk. Conrad's condo is leased under his wife's name, Elena Ashford. She doesn't know about the affair. Blake saw an opening. He asked Javier to track Elena's movements. If she attended the gala, her presence could amplify the fallout. Meanwhile, Blake dug into Conrad's past. A quick search revealed lawsuits from former partners accusing him of fraud. The man was a predator, and Layla was his latest mark. Blake's anger grew, but so did his resolve. He wouldn't just expose the affair, he'd dismantle Conrad's entire game. Sophia called late, her voice shaky. Layla's at the condo now. I followed her. She's talking about leaving you after the gala. Conrad's promising to divorce Elena and marry her. Blake's chest tightened, but he stayed focused. Record if you can, he said. Sophia agreed, sending a grainy audio clip an hour later. Layla's voice, soft and certain. Blake's too busy with his cars to notice. Once Conrad's free, we'll be unstoppable. Conrad's reply was smug. My wife's a liability. You're my future. Blake saved the file, his plan crystallizing. The gala would be their undoing. The next morning, Blake met Javier at a pier overlooking Biscayne Bay. Javier handed over a dossier, photos of Layla and Conrad at restaurants, hotels, even a jewelry store where Conrad bought her a $10,000 necklace with company funds. There's more, Javier said. Conrad's been skimming donations from charity events Layla planned. He's pocketing thousands. Blake's blood boiled. Layla wasn't just betraying him. She was complicit in theft from causes they both valued. He instructed Javier to prepare a presentation. Photos, bank records, audio clips. Make it undeniable, Blake said. I want the gala crowd to see who Conrad really is. Sophia texted as Blake drove back to his dealership. Layla's acting strange. She's nervous about the gala. Keeps checking her phone. Blake replied, keep her in the dark. I'm handling it. He spent the afternoon with Elena, his lawyer, ensuring his dealerships were untouchable. She flagged a detail. Layla had consulted a divorce attorney, claiming half of Blake's assets. She won't get a dime, Elena said. The evidence of her fraud and infidelity kills her case. Blake nodded, his mind on the gala. He'd invited Elena Ashford, Conrad's wife, using a discreet email. She'd RSVP'd yes. The stage was set. That night, Blake lay awake, replaying Layla's words from the audio. Her betrayal cut deeper than he'd expected, but he pushed the pain aside. He visualized the gala, Conrad's smug speech, Layla's confident smile, the crowd's applause, then his move. He'd step forward with Javier's dossier, exposing their lies in front of Miami's elite. The thought steadied him. He wasn't just fighting for himself. He was protecting others from Conrad's schemes. The gala was tomorrow. Blake closed his eyes, ready to reclaim his life. The morning of the gala, Blake woke at dawn, his mind sharp despite sleepless hours. He reviewed Javier's dossier one last time. Photos, bank statements, audio clips, and a bombshell. Conrad had forged Layla's signature on a loan application, tying her business to his debts. Blake saved the evidence to a secure drive, then called Sophia. "Is Layla still clueless?" he asked. "She's distracted, prepping for the event," Sophia replied. "She thinks Conrad's proposing tonight." Blake's grip tightened on the phone. "Let her think that. I'll handle the rest." At his dealership, Blake finalized preparations. He transferred the last of his joint accounts to a private bank, ensuring Layla couldn't access them. His lawyer, Elena, sent confirmation. The dealerships were locked down, untouchable in any divorce. Blake then emailed Elena Ashford, Conrad's wife, a cryptic note. "Tonight's gala will reveal the truth about your husband. Be there." He didn't sign it, but her reply was immediate. "I'll be watching." Blake pocketed the drive and headed to Miami Beach, the gala's venue, his resolve hardening. Javier met him at a coffee shop near the hotel. "Everything's ready," Javier said, handing over a tablet loaded with the presentation. Photos, recordings, financials, time to play during Conrad's speech. Blake tested the slideshow. Images of Layla and Conrad at a yacht party, bank transfers to offshore accounts, Conrad's voice boasting about fooling investors. It was airtight. "Position yourself near the projector," Blake instructed. "When I signal, start it." Javier nodded, his eyes glinting with anticipation. Sophia texted as Blake parked near the venue. "Layla's here, running logistics. She's nervous, but hiding it." Blake replied, "Stay close to her. Record any slip-ups." He entered the hotel through a side door, avoiding the bustling lobby. The gala was hours away, but staff were already setting up. Blake spotted Layla directing caterers, her movements brisk, confident. She didn't see him. He slipped into a back room, where Javier had stashed a backup drive. Blake double-checked the equipment, ensuring no technical glitches would derail his plan. By 7 p.m., the ballroom buzzed with Miami's elite, business moguls, philanthropists, and socialites. Blake lingered near the bar, blending in, his tablet ready. Elena Ashford arrived, her posture rigid, scanning the crowd. She didn't know Blake, but her presence was a wild card he'd used to his advantage. Layla moved through the room, charming guests, unaware of the storm coming. Conrad stood near the stage, shaking hands, his smile practiced but brittle. Blake's pulse steadied. This was his moment. At 8:30, Conrad took the stage, his voice booming through the speakers. "Tonight, we celebrate Ashford Events' new chapter," he began, touting partnerships and growth. The crowd clapped, buying his charm. Blake caught Javier's eye and nodded. The lights dimmed slightly as Javier activated the projector. The screen behind Conrad flickered, then displayed a photo. Him and Layla, arms around each other at a private beach villa. Gasps rippled through the room. Conrad froze, his speech faltering. Blake stepped forward, his voice cutting through the murmurs. "I'm Blake, and I funded this gala indirectly, through my wife's affair with Conrad Ashford." The next slide showed bank records, Layla's transfers to Conrad's failing company. "She's been siphoning our savings to prop up a fraud," Blake said. The crowd stirred, phones emerging to record. Elena Ashford stood, her face pale, staring at Conrad. Layla rushed toward the stage, her voice shrill. "Blake, stop this." He didn't. The next slide played audio. Layla's voice, Blake's too busy to notice. Then Conrad, "My wife's a liability. You're my future." The ballroom erupted in whispers. Elena Ashford marched toward Conrad, her heels clicking. "You liar," she hissed, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. Conrad stammered. "This is a misunderstanding." But Blake pressed on, showing the forged loan documents. Conrad used Layla's business to secure illegal loans. "He's not just a cheater, he's a criminal." Layla grabbed Blake's arm, her voice desperate. "You're ruining everything." Blake shook her off. "You ruined us when you chose him." Security approached, but the damage was done. Journalists in the crowd were already typing, socialites whispering, investors pulling out phones to cancel deals. Elena Ashford slapped Conrad, the sound echoing. She turned to Blake, her voice low. "Thank you. I needed to know." She walked out, leaving Conrad alone on the stage, his empire crumbling. Blake signaled Javier to stop the presentation. He faced Layla, her eyes wet with panic. "You thought I'd never find out," he said quietly. "But I did." He walked away, the crowd parting, as Layla called after him, her voice breaking. Outside, Blake breathed in the ocean air, his heart heavy but unburdened. The gala was in chaos. Conrad's reputation shattered, Layla's career in ruins. Blake had one more move to make, but for now, he'd struck the first blow. The gala's fallout hit Miami like a tidal wave. By morning, social media buzzed with clips of Blake's exposé, hashtags branding Conrad a fraud and Layla a homewrecker. Blake woke to a flood of emails from his lawyer, Elena, detailing the next steps. "Layla's attorney is pushing for a settlement," she wrote. "But with the evidence, she has no leverage." Blake deleted the message and called Javier. "Track Conrad's movements," he said. "He'll try to run." Javier confirmed. "Already on it. He's at his condo, packing bags." Blake drove to his flagship dealership, where his team was fielding calls from clients praising his courage. A news outlet requested an interview, but Blake declined. He wasn't after fame. He wanted justice. Sophia texted, "Layla's a mess. She's begging me to talk to you." Blake ignored it and met Elena at her downtown office. "File for divorce," he instructed. "No alimony, no asset split. Use the financial records and a fair evidence." Elena nodded. "She's radioactive after last night. No judge will side with her." Javier's update came at noon. Conrad had booked a one-way flight to Cancun, departing that evening. Blake acted fast, forwarding the forged loan documents and audio evidence to a contact at the Miami-Dade prosecutor's office. "Conrad's facing fraud charges," the contact confirmed. "We're issuing a warrant." Blake exhaled, the net tightening. He then called Sophia. "Meet me at the pier. Bring everything you have on Layla's business dealings." Sophia agreed, her voice heavy with regret. At the pier, Sophia handed over a folder of emails showing Layla had diverted client payments to Conrad's accounts, jeopardizing her own event company. She thought she was investing in their future, Sophia said. Conrad promised her a global brand. Blake shook his head. She bet on a con man and lost everything. He took the folder, his plan shifting to the final phase. He'd ensure Layla faced consequences, not just for the affair, but for dragging their shared dreams through the mud. By afternoon, news broke. Conrad's arrest at Miami International Airport. Cameras caught him in handcuffs, his face pale, as officers led him away. Blake watched the footage from his office, feeling no satisfaction, only resolve. Elena called with an update. Layla's lawyer dropped her. "The divorce papers are ready. Sign them, and she's out of your life." Blake signed without hesitation, severing the legal ties to his past. He then froze Layla's access to their joint business accounts, ensuring she couldn't siphon more funds. Sophia reached out again, this time with a voice message from Layla. "Blake, I'm sorry. I thought Conrad loved me. Please, let's talk." Blake deleted it. Her apologies were too late, her betrayal too deep. He met Javier at a quiet bar to strategize. "Conrad's company is under audit," Javier said. "They found $200,000 in misappropriated funds, some from Layla's transfers." Blake leaned forward. "Can we recover it?" "Javier Nadid. Your lawyer's already on it. The money's traceable." That evening, Blake visited Elena Ashford, Conrad's now estranged wife, at her Coral Gables home. She greeted him with a firm handshake. "You saved me from years of lies," she said. "I'm filing for divorce and cooperating with the prosecutors." Blake shared Javier's findings about the stolen funds. Elena's eyes narrowed. "Conrad used my name on those loans. I'll testify against him." Blake left her house with a new ally, their shared betrayal forging a quiet bond. The next day, Layla showed up at the dealership, her eyes red, voice shaking. "You've destroyed me," she said, standing in Blake's office. "I have nothing left." Blake stayed calm. "You destroyed us when you chose Conrad and stole from our future." Layla's shoulders slumped. "I didn't know he was using me." Blake pointed to the door. "You made your choices. Now live with them." She left, the silence after her departure louder than her pleas. By evening, the prosecutor's office confirmed Conrad faced multiple charges: fraud, embezzlement, and forgery. Layla wasn't charged, but her business was finished. Clients dropped her, citing the Gala scandal. Sophia took over their event company, cutting Layla out entirely. Blake received a court notice. $127,000 from Conrad's liquidated assets would be returned to him. He donated half to the homeless shelter where he'd met Layla, a final act of closure. Blake stood on his balcony that night, the Miami skyline glittering. The divorce was nearly final. Conrad was behind bars, and Layla was a ghost of her former self. He'd protected his empire and exposed the truth, but the cost was a marriage he'd once believed in. The Gala had been his checkmate, but the game wasn't over. One last move remained to ensure Layla and Conrad could never rebuild on his ruins. Blake leaned against the railing of his dealership's rooftop, the Miami sunrise painting the sky in sharp hues. The divorce was finalized yesterday. Layla got nothing, her betrayal documented in court filings that left her no claim to his assets. Conrad's trial loomed, with prosecutors building a case from Blake's evidence. But Blake wasn't done. He wanted to ensure neither could harm anyone else. He called Javier. "Dig into Layla's new moves," he said. "She's not the type to give up." Javier agreed, promising updates by noon. At his office, Blake reviewed the recovered $127,000 from Conrad's liquidated company. He wired the remaining half to a local youth mentorship program, honoring the values he and Layla once shared. His phone buzzed with a message from Sophia. "Layla's in Orlando, trying to start a new event business under an alias." Blake's jaw tightened. She was running, but not far enough. He forwarded the tip to Javier, who traced Layla's new venture to a small office leased with borrowed money. "She's pitching old clients," Javier reported. "They don't know about the scandal yet." Blake saw an opportunity. He contacted 3 of Layla's former clients, major Miami firms, and shared the court records of her financial misconduct. By afternoon, 2 had dropped her, unwilling to risk their reputations. The third, a hotel chain, followed suit after Sophia leaked an anonymous tip about Layla's alias. Blake didn't gloat. He was dismantling her ability to deceive again. Meanwhile, Elena Ashford called. "Conrad's pleading guilty to lesser charges," she said. "He'll serve 2 years, lose everything." Blake nodded. "Good. Keep me posted on his release." Javier's next report revealed Layla had reached out to Conrad's old contacts, seeking investors for her new business. Blake acted swiftly, sending the Gala footage to those contacts, ensuring they saw her role in the fraud. Her pitches dried up overnight. Layla's dreams of a fresh start crumbled as Miami's elite closed their doors. Blake then met Sophia at a beachfront cafe. "I'm rebuilding the event company," she said. No lies, no shortcuts. Blake offered her a loan to stabilize the business, which she accepted with a handshake. "You're a good man, Blake," she said. He shrugged, "Just doing what's right." That evening, Blake visited the youth mentorship program, where kids were planning a car show fundraiser. He volunteered his dealership's resources, cars, staff, logistics, earning cheers from the group. Helping them felt like reclaiming a piece of himself Layla had stolen. His lawyer, Elena, texted. Layla's attorney tried one last plea for spousal support. "Denied. You're free." Blake deleted the message, his focus shifting to the future. He'd started meeting new people, cautious but open, at charity events where his contributions now made headlines. A week later, Javier confirmed Conrad's assets were seized, his offshore account frozen. Elena Ashford inherited nothing, but her testimony ensured his conviction. She emailed Blake, offering to partner on a charity gala. "Let's do some good," she wrote. Blake agreed, seeing it as a chance to rebuild trust in the community Layla and Conrad had exploited. Meanwhile, Layla's Orlando venture collapsed. A local paper exposed her alias, linking it to the Miami scandal. She vanished again, likely to another city, her reputation in tatters. Blake stood in his office, reviewing record-breaking sales figures. His dealerships were thriving, new locations planned. He'd hired a manager to handle daily operations, freeing him to focus on philanthropy. At a dinner with the mentorship program's organizers, he met Carla, a sharp-witted volunteer who ran a tech startup. Their conversation flowed easily, no hidden agendas. Blake didn't rush. He learned to guard his trust, but her genuine laugh stayed with him. The final blow came quietly. Javier tracked Conrad's prison correspondence, uncovering letters to Layla promising a reunion after his release. Blake shared them with prosecutors who added parole restrictions, barring Conrad from contacting her. Layla, now broke and alone, had no one left to turn to. Blake didn't dwell on her fate. He drove to the beach, parked, and watched the waves. The pain of betrayal lingered, but it no longer defined him. He'd exposed the truth, protected his legacy, and built a stronger future. Raising a coffee to the horizon, Blake toasted his new beginning. Justice wasn't about revenge. It was about accountability. Layla and Conrad faced theirs, while he moved forward, wiser, unbroken, and ready for whatever came next.